The Tatami Galaxy is one of the most unique anime of all time. You wouldn't get that through the synopsis though. A college student goes through different scenarios for what he considers to be his ideal campus life. During this journey, he learns to appreciate the beauty and the imperfections of the world. Pretty simple, right? What makes the story so different is how the show tells it. The main character rattles off like a machine gun, the art style is strikingly different, and movements from walking to eating are exaggerated and tailored to each character's personality. What people might not know, however, is that this anime is based off of a book of the same name, and instead of being a faithful adaptation, the anime takes the best parts of the book, removes and changes the negative aspects, and transforms a solid story into a masterpiece. The anime is a direct upgrade from the novel, and I'm going to explain why. The Tatami Galaxy was originally a novel written in 2004 by author Tomohiko Morimi. It revolves around an unnamed college student who explores 4 different possibilities for his campus life through parallel universes. The original book is actually a pretty fun read. The main character has a strong personality that shines through on every page, and the scenarios he goes through are filled with wacky hijinks. In one timeline, he joins the Film Ablutions Club and fights with the club president Jogasaki. In another, he answers a help wanted sign and becomes the apprentice of Master Higuchi, who is an eccentric slacker. Characters like Higuchi and Jogasaki are very distinct, with interesting and enjoyable dialogue. It's a fun read. However, there's a catch. You know how sometimes anime will reuse some footage, typically in long-running shows like Pokemon? It's a necessary concession because animation is a complicated process, and doing this saves time and money. Well, what if words were reused? Like, in a book. If you're thinking it can't possibly be what he's implying, oh, it is. Not just sentences, not just paragraphs, but entire pages are copy and pasted from chapter 1 to the other 3 chapters of the book, with only 1 or even 0 changes between versions. 0! This includes the beginning, where the main character introduces himself, and a scene where he meets a fortune teller on the side of the road. The worst part is that the writing the author copy and pastes is actually well written. When I read them for the first time, there were points where I actually laughed out loud. By having to read those parts another 3 times took away all of the charm and humor. Morimi did all this for a payoff in the final chapter, and while that payoff did work on me, there are better ways to achieve that emotional response than repeating entire pages worth of story. The issue of repetition goes beyond simple copy and paste. For the first 3 chapters, the main character doesn't really go through any kind of progression or character development. His mindset stays the same until the last chapter of the book, which is also the best by a large margin. That's a problem when the book's structure is set up so he eventually grows in the final chapter, so it all just happens at once instead of a slow gradual build. And that's also why the anime is such an upgrade. The anime adaptation for the Tatami Galaxy released in 2010 and was directed by Masaki Yuasa, who before this show had directed Mind Game, Kemonozume, and Kaiba. Each of these 3 projects were distinct, both in terms of the production and the story. What these anime also had in common is that they were all anime originals. The Tatami Galaxy was Yuasa's first adaptation. However, he did not follow the story beat by beat, like a lot of other adaptations. Along with Yasunori Miyazawa, who helped with the script, and Makoto Ueda, who did the series composition, Yuasa created a completely different script that changed large portions of the book, and for the better. The first change is that instead of 4 parallel realities, there are now 10, spread out over 11 episodes. Scenarios from the book, like the film circle and the apprenticeship with Master Higuchi, are still included. However, the show delves into new groups, like a cycling club in episode 3 and a softball group that has a very cultish vibe in episode 5. Groups that are simply mentioned in the book, like the cleanup corps, also get more screen time. But that's all small potatoes compared to the two bigger and more necessary changes. Getting rid of all the repetition and giving the main character a character arc. When it comes to the character arc, the protagonist tries to obtain his ideal campus life, but those efforts always go south, both due to his own shortcomings and the meddling of his friend Azu. Azu has a fulfilling life, going through memorable experiences with tons of different clubs and people he can call friends, including the protagonist. Meanwhile, the protagonist can't even confess his feelings to a girl who he loves, someone who would love him back, because he's too scared. And that's what leads to the Tatami episodes at the end, where, without getting into spoilers, he finishes his character arc. Then there's the repetition, which is far and away the worst part of the book. In the anime, when the protagonist introduces what club he chooses at the start of every episode, he barrels through his monologue about wanting a rose-colored campus life, and there's different visuals when he chooses a club. The interactions with the fortune teller are also different. For example, her fortune about the Coliseum, what he needs to seize to have a fulfilling life, isn't in the anime because it didn't add much value to the story. Him not reaching out and making connections with the people in his life, like the girl he loves, serves the same purpose. The fortune teller ends by asking for money, an anime original joke, and she raises the prices in each subsequent episode. In one episode, she just rolls on up in something that would make Pimp Your Ride eat its heart out. Stuff like this adds more to the storytelling. I can't finish this video without talking about what the production brings. Yuasa uses his signature loose style to absolute perfection here. For example, there's one part in the book where the protagonist has a conversation with his parts down under, but Morimi doesn't go all the way with it in terms of the dialogue, so the moment falls flat. And in the anime, the down under is a cowboy that's animated in a completely different art style from the rest of the show. He bounces and wiggles his limbs around wildly like the wild beast he is, and he goes all in on sexual innuendos that made me roll my eyes and laugh at the same time. Trust me, it's so stupid. The backgrounds range from revolving around a single color, like red or green, to incorporating real-life footage, especially in the last two episodes. And if that isn't enough, there's even some action scenes that are beautifully animated, like this one where the protagonist has to fly in a human-powered glider, or this one where he shoots fireworks onto an unsuspecting party by the water. It's a visual treat to cap off what is a perfect rewrite of a solid source material, turning it into something masterpiece worthy. I watched the Tatami Galaxy years ago and absolutely loved it. I put it as one of my favorite anime of all time. This year, I bought the book to see what it's like and thought it was just okay. It had been years since I'd seen the anime, and I was worried that after watching hundreds more anime and reading the original book, I'd enjoy it less. But, when I came back and rewatched it, I realized that it really is just an improvement over the book on every level. I don't hate the original book, but the anime is something truly special. If you can get past the fastest subtitles I've ever seen, the Tatami Galaxy is a one-of-a-kind experience that stands as Masaki Yuasa's masterpiece and proof that the adaptation can be better than the source material. Thank you all for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you could consider still liking and subscribing, that would be great. Maybe click the bell, maybe comment. I really do appreciate it. And I am gonna make more videos in the future. So if you want to hear my takes about anime, maybe video games, I don't know, consider subscribing. Bye. Bye.